Alright, this is the video about the second medley of the Llano Estacado pipe band, or Llano Estacado and District pipe band. So, the medley consists of, I didn't print it out, we've got Castle Dangerous, which is a 3/4 march, Hag at the Churn, a 6/8 jig, Queen of the Rushes, another 6/8 jig, Echo Lake is the slow air, Callum Campbell of Benbecula, that's a stress bay, and then it ends with the famous bridge, which is a 3/2 reel. So I'm just going to work through each one, and then we'll you can sort of play along as we go. So Castle Dangerous is fairly straightforward. Starting on E, since the roll off. Here we go. Hey, 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 ha, do, dum. 1, 2, 3. So there's the first part. Things to note is that grip from D in the 3rd and 7th bar. That is a B grace note. So instead of a D grace note, it's a B grace note. It can be difficult to play. I like to think of that B finger bouncing off the chanter once I close to low G. And that helps me get it off nice and cleanly. Alright, so second part is much of the same. Da ha dee ha da hee ha da ha ho hum. 1, 2, 3. The astute listener will notice I switched from heavy throws in the first part to light throws in the second part. That was totally unintentional. So pick one. The second part is not too bad. You'll notice that the 2nd, 3rd, 4th bars of the second part are identical to the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th bars of the first part. So the only new bar in the second part is the first bar. That's the only difference between the first part. So once you get the first part down, the only thing you need to memorize new about the second part is the first bar. So all you have to do is take the first bar of the second part, right, and stick that on to the rest of the bars of the first part, and you've got the whole thing memorized. So nice easy tune. You've got a first part you need to memorize, and then only one additional bar for the second part, and you're done. So not too bad. They are repeated, of course. I did not do that here. So the next tune is Hag at the Churn. So this is a jig. We end Castle Dangerous on a D, and so Hag at the Churn starts on E. So we'll just be on the D and go straight to the E at Hag at the Churn. So the end of Castle Dangerous is so you can see how that transition will work. Okay, so Hag at the Churn is basically just 2 lines of jig. Both are repeated. And again, there's a lot of symmetry here. If you look at the first line at Hag at the Churn, the first bar and the 3rd bar are identical in the first line. The same is true for the second line. The 1st and the 3rd bars are almost identical. In the first bar, it's a D pickup into the second bar, and in the 3rd bar, it's an E pickup into the 4th bar. You'll notice the last bar of the first and second lines are identical with the So that's nice. Alright, so I'm going to play through Hag at the Churn here. Hey ho hey humba, hey ho hey dum. 1, 2. Alright, so as jigs go, just keep it kind of round and go through it. Make sure the quarter notes, so I'm talking about the E's that start the first 3 bars of the first line, and the high G's in the first and third bar of the second line. Make sure you really hold those. Okay. Right, that's where our melody is going to come from, and give it some character. Okay, it's from those quarter notes. Hey ho hey hum, hey ho hi dee hum ba ha de hum ba da da dum da da da. So there's Hag at the Churn. Fairly simple. All right. The next jig is Queen of the Rushes. This is another very repetitive tune. You'll notice the first 2 bars of the first part are identical. They are, and then you do it again. So that's nice and easy. And then we've got the grace note and strike on D, and then you've got 3 runs in a row that are identical. Can't get much easier than that. G grace note to B, go up the scale. One thing I want to emphasize here is that we've got heavy strike on the E because you're going all the way down to low A. And we're going to find some heavy strikes on C because that's sort of your only option with C. Okay, that go all the way down to low G. So whenever you see a D strike, don't think you have an option. Do not play light strikes. We're looking for symmetry, so we need to make sure they're heavy D strikes. Alright. You get to the second line of the first part, and the first 2 bars are the same. Except in the first line, you end with. Okay, the second bar ends with. And in the second line, the second bar ends with. So watch out for that. You're not going to the C the second time through that little phrase. And so you get to end with. Alright. Just a quick glance at the second part. You never leave the bottom hand, okay? Everything is on the bottom hand, so just keep it nice and controlled. Remember, heavy taps on the D. So, Queen of the Rushes. Let's see. Here we go. Hey da dum he da da, hey da dum he da da. 1, 2. Note there at the end of each part, we've got a G grace note to a low A and then a burl. And that low A before the burl is the dotted quarter. So again, it's a long note, so hold it. The beginning of that burl should start on the beat. Okay, so torluas, grips, throws, these are things that generally start before the beat. Okay, but burls, especially at the end, these things start on the beat. So torluas you'll start before the beat, and so that you end the torlua, say with the E grace note on the beat. Okay, but burls are a different story. Burls, you're going to hit that low G on the beat, the first low G. So hold that dotted low A. Okay. Alright, we're going to end Queen of the Rushes on a low A, and Echo Lake, our slow tune. It's not really an air because it's kind of happy sounding to me. Okay. Starts on A, so it's really no problem. The transition's going to be. So it's fairly straightforward. I'll play through Echo Lake here. Notice there's no repeats, so I'll just play it straight through. Hum ya horo hum dere hum de hit 'em. 1, 2. Right? Very straightforward rhythm. It's, you know, every bar is about the same. It's just what note are you playing the rhythm to? Let's see here. I think we're gonna stick with the light tap on D in this tune. I might have seen that in the second part. So I think we're gonna stick the light tap there for some symmetry. We've got that light tap on high A, D, F in the first 2 bars of the second part, and then we follow that up with some light taps on C and E, and so. Or heavy taps on C and E, and so it's a little bit of symmetry there. That way it's not out of place. That D tap isn't out of place. Also notice the second line is identical to the fourth line. If I look at that quickly, it looks about the same. So once you got the second line, you've memorized the fourth line. The only difference is between the first and third lines, sort of as the parts go. So not too bad. All right, so out of the slow air, we end on low A. And we'll go straight into the strispe, which has no pickup notes. So that's one thing I liked about the strispe. I rearranged the second part a little bit so it had no pickup notes. That always each line ends on low A, and there's no pickup notes into the next bar. So it's nice and clean, and I don't think it's too bad. All right, so we're going to end the slow air on low A, just a dotted whole note there. And just go straight into that C on the strispe. So here's the strispe. Again, as far as strispe playing goes, they're dotted and cutted. If it's dotted, it's a long note and hold it as long as you can. If it's a cut note, it's short and cut it as much as you can. Okay, so in strispe playing, there are no medium-sized notes. It's either really, really short or really, really long. All right, so. Hare he da hadam ba hitam hada hambaro hadam ba da hada hadam bo hadam bra. All right, hada da da hada da. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so I made a mistake there at the end because I'm looking at old music. But one thing I want to point out to you is that for each part, the first and the second bar is identical to the fifth and sixth bar. Okay. The trick of this tune is that the third bar of each line, if you just look down the 4 lines, the third bar is different. So the first line has its own third bar. The second line has its own third bar, and the second line's third bar is just a slight mutation of the first line's third bar, so we don't want to get those confused. Same in the second part. We've got a very similar beginning to that third bar, but it's a different rhythm, and so don't get caught by that. Now, the fourth bar is identical all the way through the tune. Okay, so it's not, it's not too difficult. Now, I played through the whole stress bay. For the medley, if you look at the fourth line, third bar, it ends on that D before the ending, and I've changed the ending. It becomes very round. You'll see 2 dotted quarter notes that are D with the tie between them. That just means there's no grace notes between them. Okay, and so we're just going to hold that D and then go. So the third bar of the last line of the stress bay is let's see. Except make sure you hit the holes on your tenor. All right, and so that's going to be our break into the reel. Okay, and so we're going to take the end of the stress bay and put it into real time for a nice clean break as we pause on that D. So here we go again. Ha-dee, hey, da 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 da. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's to be the break, okay? And so last we have the reel. I think it's the famous bridge. It's some sort of bridge, whether it be broken or in disrepair. I don't remember the adjective used to describe this bridge. I don't remember, but it goes like this. The nice thing about the reel is you'll notice, I don't have it in front of me, the music, but the first part and the second part are identical. Okay, except for the fact that the first part, the phrases start with C, and in the second part, the phrases start with high A. Okay, so the first part starts out with C, and then the melody. And the second part starts with high A. But otherwise, they're identical. So memorize the first part. You've memorized the second part as long as you just replace the C with high A at the beginning of the 2-bar phrases. So here we go. The famous bridge, or whatever it's called. Oh, also notice this reel's in 3/2, not 2/2 like most reels, so it's got a little funny sound to it at first. Hey dum ha dum ha da da he ya da he. 1, 2. And I already made a mistake. The first time through the tune, through the first part, I ended the line with, and when I played the second part, I played a tap. There's no the only taps in this tune are on E. Make sure everything else is just basically a slow doubling. So let's try that again. Let's make sure I get it right this time. Hey da ha dum ba dum ba he ya da he dee. 1, 2. There we go. I don't remember off the top of my head if those parts are repeated. They're highly likely to be repeated, so we'll repeat the first part and repeat the second part if that's what's written in the music. Again, I don't have it with me because I'm stupid enough to start recording before printing out the newest version of the sheet music. If there's not repeats in the music, we might repeat each part anyway. But anyways, just go by the music, and maybe I'm just talking about stuff that doesn't exist. So, but look for a lot of repetition in these tunes. This medley was constructed to have a lot of symmetry, and if not symmetry, at least repetitiveness. So that way we can just piece it together. If you've learned the first part, you've also learned the second part. There's just a little bit of modifications. The Strathspey is probably going to be the hardest tune here because it's it's the only one that's really dot cut. The rest of it's a bunch of even eighth notes. But that's Strathspey playing for you, so it's nice and cut. Okay, so as cut as you can make it is the best you can play it. So there's the medley. So good luck, I guess. All right, thanks.